Hello, welcome to another non-finito BG painting tutorial. Today we are painting the Jabirean Alchemist from the Iron Sultanate faction of Trench Crusade. Alright, so I'm not going to pull out the palette. This is the same palette I used for my Brazen Bull that I did recently. So if you want to see exactly how I mix the colors for the gold, you could go ahead and check out that video. But I just go over my gold with a green. I think this is a sap green that I had out of the tube. This miniature is pretty small, so I didn't have to do as many layers to get the same effect. I kind of skipped a lot of the layers. I think it's only like 3 or 4 layers. Like I said, I did the whole thing in sap green, and then I started putting a wash of a purple, a mixture of that Scarlet Lake and the ultramarine blue, and I just started hitting it in all those recesses and places where there's going to be like shadow. So underneath the plates, underneath the tank that's on its back, and then after that I mixed together an orange using a Deep Lake yellow and the Scarlet Lake red, and just started applying that to all the areas that are not gonna be in shadow. Not necessarily the areas that are gonna be getting hit by light, but for the most part. And I'm being mindful not to cover up too much of that purple. I think it gives like a nice weathered or like tarnished effect when it's still showing through with that green. So I don't want to go and just cover up the whole thing, but I am going to cover up most of it. And if you want to make this process a little quicker, you could do what I just did there, was the dry brushing over the model. I like to dry brush very sparingly because I like to be more in control and deliberate where I put my colors, not just big sweeping motions. I feel like that it gives it kind of like a chalky look that I don't really like. Alright, so the next one is it's a mixture of a Deep Lake yellow with warm white and yellow ochre. And I just start hitting all the areas in the direction in which I feel like that light is hitting. So the top of those medallions are all going to get hit, as well as the symbols in the middle of those medallions going down the skirt. And you could really start seeing that the non-metallic is really starting to get sold here. Again, this miniature is so small that trying to get I guess certain details out of it with a non-metallic metal techniques is going to be pretty difficult, especially with the brushes I use. I use a number 3 and a number 2 and a little bit of like a number 1 here and there on this model, but you know, sometimes less is more. I don't want to spend too much time on this model. I want to, you know, get it to the table. And you see what I did there? I feel like it was I put too much in that area. I just took a dry clean brush and I kind of just feathered it out, and then I like what it does there because it kind of gives it that like patina that metal usually gets when it starts like getting weathered or tarnished. Right here, dry clean brush, and I just feather it out on either side so there's no hard lines. Alright, now I'm going in with a mostly warm white with a tad bit of that deep lake yellow, and that is going to be my edge highlighting, or all the areas that need some highlighting, maybe like some spot highlighting where the metal is the brightest, you know, so I don't go over every raised area or every detail with this, just certain areas just to give it a little bit more of a punch. Alright, and for all the robes and the hood, I decided to just go with the red. I think that's the, I mean, I can't say box art, these don't come in boxes, but like the source material for the artwork and stuff is, the Alchemist has a red robing, and so I decided to just go with that. So I'm putting down like more like a maroon wash just to get into all those crevices, and then I just start hitting it with that just deep lake red right out of the tube. This red is really good for coverage, so I really do have to like thin it out to make sure it doesn't clump up, and I'm going for a red leather sort of look, right? So I don't know if you've had like I'm into leather working, so I make notebooks and stuff, and the way that red leather patinas is really nice, and I'm trying to go for that look, like almost like a red leather rather than a red cloth. And I think it sold the idea of leather around the skirt area. Alright, so I don't have any bases, I don't have a 3D printer yet, but I do have a 3D pen, and I make all my own bases with a 3D pen. So this is a Sanagu 3D pen. I found this person on YouTube. I was like researching 3D pens and I came across this individual's 3D pen, and I like when I make my own bases, I can just do one layer and super flat. And the reason I like that is because I don't want to see the base underneath. Alright, so here I'm going to let it cool down a little bit before I take it off, or else it'll warp and I have like a bend to it. So I'm going to let it cool off a little bit. You see how flat it is? That's what I want. There we go, and just give it a little twist here, and then it just comes right off. Alright, but yeah, that's what I want. I want it to be flat, because once I start basing all the basing materials on it, it blends in with my tabletop terrain. Alright, so you don't see plastic basing around the border. There we go, just some cork board and some pieces of rock and little sticks I found at the hobby store at Michael's. I'm just checking to make sure that it was gonna stand there correctly, and it will. All right, making sure I cover up all that black base. I don't want to see the base. All right, and I'm putting some more of that that base material over that corkboard and stuff. Kind of helps me glue it down. All right, tie the whole thing in together. All right, just let that. So I let that dry for a little bit, and then I go in with some oil washes. We're just going to go ahead and glue this model down. And that'll be the end of this painting tutorial. So I hope you enjoyed it. It was a quick one today. Usually these go on for like half an hour, 45 minutes. So this one only took me maybe an hour and a half to paint. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider subscribing, all that jazz. And yeah, thank you for watching.